So if you're in the trades, you've definitely heard of the OSHA card. You know, that little piece of plastic that can literally be the difference between getting on a job site and being sent home. It's a super common requirement, but the actual process of getting one, well, that can be a real headache. Let's break it all down.
And look, the stakes here are huge. Just imagine this for a second. You've got years of experience, a great reputation, and a fantastic job lined up paying $1,800 a week. But you get turned away at the gate, all for a credential that costs about $100 and takes just a couple of days to get. It's a tough pill to swallow, and it happens all the time.
To make sure that doesn't happen to you, we're going to walk through the entire process, step by step. First, we'll talk about what this gatekeeper card really is. Then, we'll figure out which training is the right one for you. After that, we'll dive into the super strict rules for online training, help you navigate the wild world of providers, and finally, cover what to do after you pass.
Okay, let's start at square one. This whole card system comes from something called the OSHA Outreach Training Program. Now, the goal here isn't to make you a safety expert in 10 hours. It's really about building a basic foundation, a culture of safety, by making sure every worker knows how to spot common hazards on the job. And here's the thing that trips everybody up. So many people call this an OSHA certification. But OSHA is very, very clear. They do not certify workers. This is a voluntary program. When you're done, you're not getting a license. What you get is an official Department of Labor, or DOL, completion card. It's simply proof that you sat through the awareness training.
All right, so you know what it is. Now, how do you know which card you're supposed to get? This is your first big decision, and it all comes down to your specific job and your industry.
You've basically got two main paths, OSHA 10 or OSHA 30. The OSHA 10 is your starting point. It's a 10-hour course for entry-level workers, the folks on the tools, and it's all about recognizing basic hazards. The OSHA 30, on the other hand, is the deep dive. It's a 30-hour course meant for supervisors, managers, anyone with safety responsibilities. That one focuses way more on compliance and leadership.
Okay, once you've picked between the 10 and the 30, you have to choose your industry. The construction card is the one most people get. It zeroes in on what OSHA calls the Fatal Four. These are the big ones: falls, getting struck by an object, electrocution, and getting caught in or between equipment. The general industry card is for pretty much everyone else. Think manufacturing, warehousing, even healthcare. That training covers things like machine guarding and chemical safety.
All right, you've picked your course. Now, if you're taking it online, you have to know the rules. And these aren't just some providers' policies. These are strict federal regulations that every single authorized course has to follow. And trust me, they can really catch you by surprise if you're not ready for them.
First up, you can't just power through this thing in one sitting. Federal rules limit you to 7.5 hours of training per day. That's it. So a 10-hour course is going to take you at least 2 days, and a 30-hour course, well, you're looking at a minimum of 4 days.
Next, the clock starts ticking the second you begin. You get 180 days. That's about 6 months to finish the entire course. And if you don't, all your progress is completely wiped. You have to buy the whole course again and start over from scratch. No exceptions. And this last rule, this is the one that gets people. It's the toughest one. You get exactly 3 chances to pass each little quiz and the final exam. You need a 70% or better. If you fail a quiz or the final exam a third time, you are locked out. Period. You fail the entire course, and you have to pay and register all over again. 3 strikes, you're out. So now that you know the rules of the game, where should you actually take the course? See, OSHA doesn't provide the training themselves. They authorize other companies to do it. And the quality from one to the next can be, well, night and day. Let's see what people who've been through it have to say.
On one hand, you get experiences like this. Quick and painless. That's the dream, right? You find a good provider, you knock it out, you move on.
But then there's the other side of the coin. A glitchy, frustrating website can turn a 30-hour requirement into a 90-hour nightmare. This is why picking the right provider is so incredibly important.
And this brings up a huge complaint you see online: course timers. Some programs are designed in a way that forces you to be logged in for way longer than the 10 or 30 hours. One user said they were 60 hours into a 30-hour course and still had a third of it left to go. Can you imagine?
So, how can you spot a good course before you hand over your money? Well, look for signs of quality and accessibility. A professionally built course will have things like closed captions for videos, text descriptions for all the images, and clean audio that actually matches the text. These features aren't just for people with disabilities, they're a huge sign that the company actually invested in building a solid, user-friendly program.
Okay, let's fast forward. You picked a good provider, you crushed the final exam, congratulations. So what happens now? How do you actually get that card in your hand?
It's actually a two-step deal. The second you pass, you can immediately download and print a temporary certificate. And this is key, because most employers will accept that as proof of completion so you can get to work right away. Then, the real deal, the official plastic DOL card, will show up in the mail usually in about 2 to 6 weeks.
Now, you also need to know what a real card looks like because, unfortunately, fake cards are a real problem. A legitimate card is always durable plastic, never paper. It'll have a unique card number, your name, your trainer's name, and the date it was issued. And here's the cool part. If it was issued anytime after early 2016, it'll have a QR code on the back that you can scan to verify it's legit.
This brings us to probably the biggest question people have once they finally get that card in their wallet. Does this thing last forever?
And the answer is kind of tricky. It's a yes and no. Officially, at the federal level, your OSHA card never expires. But, and this is a big but, some states, some cities, and a whole lot of employers require you to take it again every 3 to 5 years to stay current. So the bottom line is you always have to check your local and your company rules.
So, you've done it. You jumped through the hoops, you passed the test, you've got the card. You're past the gatekeeper. But is that all it is? Is this just another box to check so you can get a paycheck? Or is it the first real step in building a safety mindset that's going to protect you and the people you work with for your entire career? That's the real question.